Mom, can we have some ice cream?
I've got a better idea. Who wants to help me make something fun and healthy instead?
Eating smarter is easy and delicious. Interested in receiving healthy recipes and a whole lot more in your email? Then register at healthiestweightfl.com and learn more about all the small steps that you can take on the way to living healthy. This message is sponsored by the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, the Florida Department of Health, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Now you can get Talk 1470 WNN on 95.3 FM too. Loud and clear, Health and Wealth Radio, WNN.
Let's all welcome a new sponsor to the show. It's Hemp TV, the first and only internet production company that's truly plugged in. When you're looking for a full-service internet TV radio production company, discover Hemp TV, a full-service production company that can provide all streaming videos in studio or remotely. They offer web page development, and they use all the latest platforms to help make all your business selling points more powerful. They can do remotes or live radio streaming, as well as tape productions for social media platforms and television. Hemp TV can handle all of your television needs, including closed caption for a perfect on-air telecast. Choose from a variety of creative TV and radio packages, or visit one of their many studios to get your creative juices flowing. Come and see why Hemp TV works with many major companies, including Comcast, Bravo, and Fox 29, as well as individuals and businesses of all types and sizes. To see samples of their work or to find out more, visit their website at amp2.tv. That's A-M-P, the number 2.tv, or call them at 866-224-5422. Feel free to call for a quote or just a consult of how to put your business on a social media platform or radio platform, or just doing a show that is covered by all platforms. Call 866-224-5422 and make an appointment. That's 866-224-5422. The opinions of the audience of the Hemp Boca Show are not the opinions of Gene, Chris, and any associate of the Hemp Boca Show. Hemp Boca products are not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Side effects may occur and not recommended for use by women who are nursing or planning pregnancy. Ask a healthcare professional before use. Keep out of reach from children. You must be 18 years or older to purchase products from Hemp Boca.
No limits.
No boundaries.
That's it.
Oh, you caught on. You caught on. I am so
guess it was
thirsty.
here.
That's great.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you. We appreciate it.
Water for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look who's here. He finally made it. Mr. Ed Sparron.
Hey,
I made it finally.
Our HIV activist. Thank you for being here, Ed. And look what he brought us. It is carrot cake.
What is that again? It's carrot
Carrot
cake.
cake with
Bailey's
cream cheese.
Bailey's cream cheese.
With some cookies on top.
But you told us.
Delicious.
You told us it is your famous Bailey's.
Yeah, because, you know, when you cook, you use milk.
Yeah.
Well, I don't always use milk. I use Bailey's Irish cream.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a little bit more.
He's a fantastic. Most of the time when Ed and I meet, it happens to be over food.
Yeah, that's true.
That goes along with your recipe
fine.
book.
Leave me alone right now. It's his thing. But he is a great
And
chef.
we're here with Miss Susan Lee Mintz.
Yes.
She's previously known as Mrs. Boner from Boca.
In another life.
The Naughty Sexy Cookbook Lady is an author, empowerment speaker, HIV activist, and a hospice advocate proponent for legalizing marijuana, and an avid user of CBD hemp Boca oil, people.
Yes. It's always good to see you.
And you.
Thanks for coming again.
You like the hair?
Love it.
Love the hair.
You know who
You
she
look
is tonight?
younger.
Who's she?
Trixie.
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 Do you have a name
With
for?
a pixie.
Do you have a name for all the different?
All of them. All of them.
Oh, of course.
Trixie
Of course
with the
you do.
pixie.
Nice. It's very nice.
Well,
All right,
we
this is
heard the Rick
wanna do the
Project
main
that we do.
sponsor. After
the opening of every show.
Yeah.
It's a Ricker Project. It's a Ricker Project band. The album Jazz for the Beer Drinkers, and the song
Grant's
is Grant's
Groove.
Groove. Love that
Right?
song. I will never get sick of it. Also, our main sponsor.
Yes. Phoenix Package Logistics is the exclusive distributor of Hemp, Boca clinical CBD products. They are an e-commerce fulfillment and shipping specialist providing a wide range of logistics services and retail and consumer goods manufacturers, including online resellers. They also provide FBA, fulfillment by Amazon services. For more information, please contact Barry Stein, 954-742-4790, or visit them online at phoenixpackage.com. So always a
Barry,
shout out to
Hunter,
Norm and
Norm.
Barry and Hunter. We
Deborah.
appreciate it.
The whole gang.
The whole gang over there. But
Tasia.
so we have a really special show today because now we have not only, well, Susan is also a big supporter of the HIV/AIDS and activist. We have Mr. Ed Sparron here.
Welcome.
He's gonna
Welcome.
shed some light on what's going on in that neck of the woods.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna touch on kind of HIV/AIDS and CBD or cannabis. I want to run some things by you, and I want to get an idea on your experiences and what you can tell us about if any of that is occurring, over at in the area where you are and whatever you know and within the industry.
Yeah, because
So-
we kind of want to recap from last week because we didn't get the pleasure of having you on the show.
Yeah.
So we kind of just went on kind of doing a little history and of what's going on and what the stigma, we were talking about a lot about the stigma of HIV.
The stigma.
Right.
All over of just and PrEP.
And the transmission routes, how it hasn't changed. And
Yeah. Well, I guess we can tie up a lot of this with Hemp, Boca, food, and HIV in one simple paragraph. And I'll begin with, let's just start with this story, Brownie Mary. Did I tell you guys about Brownie Mary?
You did.
So we had the 80s and the virus started and the situation started. In 1990, I moved to San Francisco and I was there for 3 years. And I found such great activism and just getting involved and making things happen. And while I was there, I met this elderly lady named Brownie Mary. And she just didn't fit in, She was this older lady, kind of dowdy and quiet. And there's all these other crazy people being very activists. And so I met Brownie Mary in a bar in San Francisco in 1991-92. And what she was doing was this. For people who had AIDS or HIV, they were giving marijuana-laced brownies. So having that with HIV and AIDS and the medications that they were taking created wasting of the body and not able to keep food down. So one way to treat this side effect of the HIV medications was giving marijuana products to get their appetite back up so they didn't waste away. So this lady, Brownie Mary, was a nurse, and so now that she's kind of retired and no longer a nurse, she was known in the San Francisco community to give out hashish brownies, and she would go into the hospitals and meet AIDS patients and give them brownies, and the community loved her for this. I kind of stumbled upon her during her situation where they tried to arrest her. So there was a lot of news about her being arrested. They arrested this old lady for doing good, and she went to court, and about 3,000 of us showed up at her court trial. It was just amazing. And so at this court trial, long story short, she did not get acquitted. The entire place cheered when all charges were dropped because she was doing good. She was helping these people out, giving these brownies. Long story short, she was not buying marijuana because she was being given it to, people were giving it to her to make the brownies. She was handing out the brownies free of charge, so she wasn't selling it.
Right.
So she was, charges were dropped. She was hailed a queen. And now if you go into those cannabis stores in San Francisco, you'll see her picture there on the walls. Wow. So those stores in San Francisco today, she helped start that whole movement. So it's people like that that you just, heroes and role models that inspired me and other people to do what we do. And so she's just one small example.
What was her reason for giving out the brownies with the marijuana? Was it because that the marijuana itself, was it doing anything for the symptoms of the HIV, or was it just something that, what was her intent of
yeah, I mean, it was really just, in the beginning, we didn't have HIV medications per se.
Right.
They were using cancer-like medications, AZT, which was a real killer. It's a chemo-type medication. Now, if you're going to give someone chemo, say for cancer, you give it to them for a couple weeks and you stop because the chemo can be really damaging. Yeah. These guys and some girls in the early 80s that were getting HIV/AIDS were given chemo not just for a few weeks, but on and on and on. So at first it started to help, but then they would take this medication and they were getting sick from the medication. They would go from 200 pounds to 130 pounds. Wow. So the medications was what's killing them. Some of the guys I know who were on AZT at the time says, I'm taking this pill and it's making me sick. So they would only take half of that pill. And they're alive today to say that. Right. So we knew that the medication was a very toxic type cancer medication. It helped, but it also really hindered too, and the side effects were drastic. One of the side effects was just wasting away. Right. So the marijuana part of it was really just helping them keep food down, the side effects of these toxic drugs, so that they could have some kind of appetite, so they can put on some kind of weight and get some kind of food in their system.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
So they've already had an idea. This person has already had an idea that the marijuana can help with the symptoms, even back in the late 80s and 90s.
Oh, sure.
Right from the very beginning.
Right from the beginning. Because I for our audience, just want to brief on how HIV is a disease that attacks the body's immune system. It's a natural defense system by killing protective white blood cells. Over time, HIV reduces the number of white blood cells in the body, which makes it harder for the body to fight off infections. When we met with you, I remember you were telling us about the T cells.
Sure.
You got to be below like 200 or below at some point. When you get to a certain level in your T cells, it's per cubic millimeter of blood or less. Stage of HIV infection is when the T cells reach 200.
Sure, yeah. So let me describe it a little bit. So if you have the HIV virus, the virus gets into your system. Yeah. What the virus does is it attacks your T cell. It feeds off of that and lives off of that. It grows, destroys the T cell. Once it destroys this T cell, it goes on to the next one, goes on to the next one. Your T cells are your fighter cells that keep you, everybody has an immune system. So if you have a cold, if you have a strong immune system, you can fight off that cold. If you have a very weak T cell or no T cells at all, you can't fight off the cold, and then you would go from cold to flu to pneumonia to death. So that's why the strong immune system is really, really important. So yeah, the virus would come in and attack the T cell. So when someone's HIV positive, they look at it two ways on the lab report. One is with the T cells, how strong are your T cells, how hard and strong is your body fighting this virus. And the other part of it is the viral load. How much of the virus is in your system? Right. So if you have just a little bit of virus in your system, what they say, it's called undetectable. It's an oxymoron, but it's really undetectable if you're under 20 particles. Okay. If you become more than 20 particles and it's higher in your system, well then, once you come to a certain point where your T cells are low, below 200 T cell, and your viral load is high, well now the HIV virus has made you sick. It's attacked your body, and that's where you cross that line from having the virus known as HIV to being AIDS. Yes.
So when you have that low T cell count, are you able to fight that off? Is there...
Well, that's part of the treatment too. So in HIV treatment, you don't just give them HIV medication, but you worry about the whole body. You try to give them nutritious food. Ensure drinks have been one way to kind of get the body's immune system back up. Vitamin C, healthy foods, better eating, but also eating some other stuff just to gain calories if you're losing weight. So it's a double-edged sword. You're trying to help the person with these medications, but the medications make you sick. So then you're also doing these other treatments to take care of the side effects and keep you going.
in this, remember we were going over this study last week about all the different symptoms or the side effects that they were focusing on when you had. They had a study. This is back in 2005, among other studies. But I found this to be very interesting, where they took a little over 500 HIV positive patients, and 97% of them reported that they had an improvement in their side effects, but mostly the appetite. And they all took just 25 milligrams of cannabis. That's nothing. That's equivalent to like one of our gummy bags, one of our gummies.
Right. Just
So I can't imagine what if somebody were to go on like 300 or 600 whatever other milligrams, what it would do. But I found it very interesting that, and that's why I asked you, is like, what was the purpose of having the marijuana back in the day? Was it really to focus on the side effects?
Yeah, mostly for the side effects. But well, I mean, let's face it. Back in the old days, people smoked pot. They did it, and they did a lot of other drugs too in the 70s.
But it was
and
more
that was going
recreational.
on.
Nobody really knew what it was doing for you medically.
No,
But it was not uncommon. It was there.
Right.
So now this is something you normally do in your life, and it's there, and you know how it affects your body. Okay, now let's say it's 1983, 85, whatever it might be. You now have the virus, and now your body starts to change. And so, all of a sudden, wait a second, my appetite has changed. And then you go, oh, wait a second, we used to smoke a joint and then we'd get the munchies. Well, so it was just kind of a necessary thing. Not even an experiment thing. It was just kind of natural. You knew that it did that. So you said, hey, well, 3 years ago, before I had the virus, I got the munchies, but now I need to have the munchies.
I tried smoking it twice, and they give me the munchies. It just laid me right out.
Yeah. Well, and even that part of it, if it does kind of, sedate you a little bit and chill you out.
It's
Let me tell you,
wonderful.
the stress is a real big part of it, because in the 80s, it was a life or death sentence.
Yeah.
As a gay man in New York City, and if I went to bed, it was a life or death situation. So every moment of your life was stressful.
Right.
And so the stress, it calms people down too. So that another helpful side effect that they can help with.
But my late husband, remember, I've been involved with it since '81 also, and I used to find that I'd put it in the tomato sauce and make the lasagna or the meatballs. So I knew how it helped personally, and I never got in trouble because I was not selling or buying.
No.
It was given to me to put into my meatballs and into my
Forget about
sauce.
parsley.
And I was known as the lasagna lady.
Yeah, right.
But for all those times in Houston and even beyond, I never had a problem because I knew what it would help. And so I can understand all of this. It will help with the appetite.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
nowadays the medications for HIV are much different.
Yes.
You don't have such severe side effects. But with the way things are, because things are better, you do have people living 30, 35 years with HIV. And so their bodies are much different. We have senior citizens now that are 75, 80 years old that are HIV. So they've been on these medications a long time. Part of their lack of nutrition is the HIV meds, and part of it is just being a senior citizen and their health not being as strong as it used to be.
Right.
We talked about that last week, how I said that STD rates are
Yes,
up significantly in the
citizens,
senior
right.
population. And we mentioned that, and that was one of the reasons is seniors think that they don't need to have protection and they can just go and come and do whatever they want. They don't realize that they're still an incubator for this virus.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's come a long way. The 80s were a sector where the public became aware of it, and then we had no HIV medicines, so we were just using, say, chemo, cancer-type medications, and trying anything and everything to try to help the situation.
Yeah.
By the 90s, medications had changed, and by 96, they had some better medications. But the real turning point was 96 with what they known as the cocktail
The
therapy.
cocktails.
Dr. David Ho invented the cocktail therapy, which was not so much a new improved medication, but it was just a mathematical equation, taking these different medicines in smaller doses, combining into one pill, and that made the death toll drop 30 to 40% within that first year.
Wow. Well, we just want to remind the audience we're here with Ed Sparren, AIDS activist. We're discussing HIV/AIDS and just the benefits of cannabis. I mean, we're talking many years ago that they've already been trying and just come to figure out that, you know, taking CBD products has helped in so many ways, and the side effects, not just appetite, but chronic pain relief.
True.
There's another study on that. It was amazing, and how they were able to relieve. In some cases, they felt like there was no pain, but it all depends. Everybody's different with their regimens and their pain symptoms and.
Yeah, today, if you're HIV positive, it's a little bit different. Like I said, the medications are much better. There are still some small side effects. You really don't have that wasting like you used to. Blood inflammation is still a situation,
right.
Arthritis in older people, but the inflammation is definitely a part of it. And so the cannabis part of it does help with the inflammation.
Right.
And have people call in if you have any questions for Ed, who really is an authority on this. Literally.
Yes, he is.
Call in and ask your questions while we've got them.
I know. It's 888-565-1470. 10 Boca time, live broadcast out of Boca Raton, Florida. Gene and Chris and Susan.
Susan Lee Mintz. Show a little respect to the old broad.
Oh, come on.
Always do.
So, more than 12, I mean, I know statistics, they change every day, right? But more than 12 million have HIV, and approximately 1 out of 8, they don't even know they have it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's, well...
We're in South Florida, and so when I'm out there in the field talking to people, when you tell them those numbers, it's like a slap in the face. Yeah. So the first thing I always tell them is, well, like I said, because HIV is not what it used to be, it's livable, it's manageable, better medications, so people don't talk about it. They don't think it exists anymore.
Right.
You know, high school kids don't think about it. So, for example, when we teach in the high schools, they think about pregnancy. A young guy, male, is afraid of getting a girl pregnant. It's going to be a financial struggle. It's going to be a problem. It's not going to kill them, but they really have a fear towards getting a girl pregnant. Right. They're not fearful of getting an STI or an HIV, which can kill them. And part of that reason is the way things are. They see pregnancy in the home, in film, in television, in the movies, in their life, in their families. So they're aware of pregnancy as being an issue. They don't see HIV in the home, in their family, because even in the home and the family, if there was an uncle or someone who passed away, it's not talked about because of the stigma. It's just not, and they don't realize it. And it's also, you don't see HIV on TV and film and television anymore.
You don't.
You know,
That's
when it first came out, you had movies like Philadelphia.
That was like the
Philadelphia
only,
Day. I mean,
that was like the only one.
There was Forrest Gump touched on it. Philadelphia touched on it. But there hasn't been Dallas Buyers Club. Every decade, a movie will come out, but the media doesn't care about it. It's not newsworthy. It's manageable. Again, that's an. It bothers me terribly because in the 90s especially, it was a mom and pop deal. They were supporting their kids. The sons were dying. So you had a lot of local organizations and you had money for it. But there was a lot of mom and pop people talking about it and doing the support groups. As the funds dried up, as the mom and pops died off and everything changed, you're not. There should be a show on TV about this every other day.
Well, here's an example is, so with gay and lesbian role models on television, there are many of them on TV and much more accepted. But, for example, Will and Grace, great show, been on for over 10 years. It has many different role models of gay and lesbian characters. In the past 10 years that show's been on, not one character has been HIV positive.
Right.
And
we had talked about that.
And people are shocked. And I get upset about this, and it fires me because sure, there's Jack, the queen and the theater queen, and I love that part of it. Then there's Will, and you know, there's many different types of role models that show different types of role models, but there's no role model on television that shows HIV positive. You know, and it fires me up because I'm 55 years old. And I'm HIV positive 16 years. My diagnosis was January 30th, 2002. I was at my doctor today. And I'm as healthy as a horse. I've never been in better health in my life. But there's not one HIV positive character that reflects who I am, and reflects to these young kids who are 22, 24 years old, 17 years old, and having sexual activity and knowing what it's like to live with HIV. These young kids don't know, they've never suffered the death that we have. So there's a huge demarcation between the young generation and the old generation. The older generation who have lived through death, I've seen hundreds of people pass away. But a 22-year-old kid has never known someone experience that, so they don't know what it's like, so they don't fear it. They don't have that fear.
A Golden Girls, I mean, the show, the Golden Girls, that would be a positive type of show, because she was so promiscuous. It's so, that's what we need. We need a show that's got an HIV-positive woman or a man who's not a kid also, who's also been around.
Betty White, they did an episode with Betty White getting... you've possibly been infected. She went and got the test. Oh my God, I'm scared. And then when she got her results, it was just kind of fluffed off. It was done so lightly that I was like, I'm a little bad about it, you know. But then again, they were network television. They have to watch their P's and Q's. But at least, and they only did that episode because B. Arthur was an advocate, and she really pushed for that episode.
Yeah.
When you were at the center. Were there any exposure or any, those that have HIV were using any type of CBD products or, to help with any side effects? Was there any type of education or awareness there? Or?
I don't think, not at the center, but anywhere I work or anywhere I'm involved with, there's no real education towards that. There are places out there doing services. HIV, what they call case management. So we'll hook you up to a doctor, we'll get you services, and then there's some auxiliary services. This barber will come in and give you free haircuts, there's the food bank, little things like that. But there's really not much other help assistance as far as the side effects, such as acupuncture.
The holistic parts of it,
holistic parts of it. I think people search that out. So people who are HIV positive go into support groups, and so they're looking for ways, and then they find their path. So I think a lot of people find meditation, holistic methods, cannabis methods through support groups and through
because the norm is just getting a prescription from a doctor and just go get drugs instead of really trying to. There are alternatives, obviously. It's a natural, healthier way.
And I think that's part of it, too. Your doctor may, I don't want to touch that or talk about it. And then you leave that doctor and you find a doctor that will work with you and understand it. So that you find a doctor that understands it that will help you out with that and prescribe it.
Yeah. Maybe there's an opportunity for us, with Ed and to go out there and see if you can, connect us with and bring awareness. Meet with these groups. Sit in these groups and discuss.
Yeah, is there a group that we can speak to?
We could be part of.
I think if you spoke to some of the HIV support groups that are out there, you'll find that they're pretty knowledgeable about this, but you could enlighten them a little bit more and at least help them point the way a little bit.
Right.
I think another one way is to maybe go into the holistic groups, these holistic wellness centers who may be doing things such as this, but not, they're giving acupuncture, they're doing meditation, and if they know about your product, they can assist that in their conversation with your clients.
Gotcha. Right. No, that's great.
But
this thing is sitting right in front of me.
It's a bomb.
It's staring at me.
I know.
Did you take your oil already, Susan?
No, I was waiting to be introduced to do it. I had to have the right time, the right situation, and shake it.
Shake it up.
Yeah, so we learned a couple of things from you that is helping.
What did you do?
You can't talk. You can't hold it.
Can't go for 2 seconds. Tough thing to not to
See,
do.
at this point, this is when you start asking a question.
Yeah.
After that, hit me with one.
Go for it.
It's done. It's sublingually done.
How are your thumbs?
Working.
The trigger thumb.
Working. You see it? They are working.
And
it's the hair. It's all in the hair. I'm telling you now. It's
everything's
good.
Much better.
Wow, yeah.
Sleeping well.
So you also brought up to us about
it's about the interstitial Cystitis?
Interstitial cystitis.
Cystitis?
Say that.
Gosh,
Notorious.
that's a tongue twister
It
there.
is. I see.
Wow.
I
I
see. And it is. It's a very uncomfortable, unpleasant.
Very common in women, right?
Very common in women, and it's it's a trigger issue that they don't really know why it happens, but when it does, you know you've got it, and you'll have flares. I mean, I'm always having flares, and there's regular medications, and there's the CBD oils too, but I've been dealing with this for 15 years now, on and off, on and off, on and off.
What's the so what is that product helping you?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a problem right now.
Oh, good.
So I don't know if it's helping or not, but I know when I'm having a flare. Usually it's foods that trigger this off. Most of the time, but there's so much information. If you were to go and check out interstitial cystitis on the internet, when there's so much information and it all boils down to the same issue, then you know that's it. They don't know how.
Yeah.
They don't know why. They don't know what foods trigger it, because you could have the Mayo Clinic or WebMD or other places. They will tell you trigger foods. But then there's other places that'll tell you that food's okay. So you can go nuts with IC, not only because it's physically debilitating. I mean, you're in chronic bladder vaginal pain, but it's just very hard to diagnose, but it's also very hard to treat. Mm-hmm. And you don't know when it's going to flare. That one martini I had, that one time with you, I had a flare for a couple of days.
Wow.
Oof.
At the Hyatt?
Uh-huh.
We started that day?
That day.
Or next day?
Yeah, no, it started the next morning.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's pronounced interstitial.
Interstitial.
I love it.
Just look up.
Cystitis.
Yeah, it's not.
It's also called painful.
Just look up
painful
IC.
bladder syndrome.
That's right, painful bladder syndrome. Back to prep.
I tell you, as we're progressing with Hemp Boca, and our products and stuff, and how we're getting feedback from customers, the norm is to focus on, okay, here's a whole list of the most popular symptoms that we all, anxiety, chronic pain, lower back, sleep. Oh yeah. Life. But then when someone comes in, it's helped me with this and with that, fibromyalgia, RLS, restless leg syndrome. Mm-hmm. It's great to hear, because all the CBD product is doing we'll have a cannabinoid system. It's called the endocannabinoid. So that's why I recognize that it's the product, because and when you're off during the day, I mean you're off. Your endocannabinoid system is telling you that you're missing something. You have these receptors, the CB1, CB2 receptors, and when you take the product, it just blankets your body, right? But it hits on everything. You have chronic pain.
Well, you have receptors all over your body.
Yeah.
So it does. So the receptors. So if you have inflammation, it's
it could be a migraine.
Focus on those points.
Well, Susan, you may know this. You're saying it helps with the restless leg syndrome. A lot of HIV patients get neuropathy. Mm-hmm. So I would think that's a similar thing. Do you know much about this cannabis oil helping with neuropathy?
Well, no, I haven't researched this, but I would think with the restless leg syndrome, which I get once in a while, it's a twitching, it's a muscular type of a thing. And I don't know, one doctor says it's nerves, another one says it's muscles, but I would think it would help with restless leg.
Because I know a lot of people that go and see doctors and try to get help, and some people get help and some people don't. So I know a lot of guys who get the neuropathy and are always trying different ways. This didn't work, and it worked for this person, but not for me. Yeah. So they're always looking for some other way to help with that neuropathy, and then we can maybe look and find out if this would help with that. If it helps with restless leg syndrome.
Right.
It's it's horrible when you have it, because you won't sleep because you jump. Your legs are just always jumping and shifting and twitching, and you can't control it.
Wow.
Well,
at my age, I've got almost everything. It's true. I could probably check off a list of what I've either had or have or plan on getting when I'm old and gray.
Well, you know what, Ed? It's very impressive. You sent us your bio. May I read your bio off to our viewers and
I can't stop you.
Listeners?
I know why you're asking. Just read.
I don't want him to blush or anything. Make sure it's correct.
People, unbelievable.
Did I say it wrong?
If he said no, it's like, I'm going to read it anyway.
I'm just going to go read it. No limits. No boundaries, Ed.
Oh, please.
Yeah, it's
Hemp
Boca time. Like P.T. Barnum, Ed was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. He moved to New York City in the 80s to pursue his theater career. He began his career as an actor, writer, director, and playwright. In the 90s, he moved to San Francisco, where the LGBT community and theater community combined. In San Francisco, he was the artistic director of the PWA, Persons with AIDS Theater. There, in San Francisco, he became very active as a community title holder and activist. His play, Bert's Big Bed, was successful and was educational and entertaining in how people accept HIV. He moved to South Florida 1994 and has been an activist here for the past 25 years. He has written 5 plays and continues to direct. His currently play, Forever Hard. I'm sorry.
Well, that's appropriate here.
Forever Hard
It's a double entendre.
has won the Playwrights Sanctuary LGBTQ Achievement Award for Theater Arts in HIV Education. You're blushing again.
Folks, no limits, no boundaries.
Yeah.
Gonna deal with it.
It's not what you think.
Yeah. No, but that's probably not. In the HIV community for 6 years, he was one of the founders and was the manager for the World AIDS Museum and Educational Center. We visited that there in Wilmington, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very impressive. He now works for the Lynn Warwick Institute as the education director, teaching safer sex in the schools. He also works for the Pride Center at Equality Park, running the PrEP program. Very impressive.
Incredible. It's great.
Wow. And this is from the 80s up to today. That's like 30, almost 40 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
My parents lived in Florida when I came here 25 years ago, and then I woke up, go, my God, I've been in Florida 25 years. Where did the time go? It just zoomed right by. You know, because my dad always said, oh, come to Florida. You can get theater work here in Florida. I said, Dad, running around an amusement park in a bear suit is not theater. He didn't understand that. But I finally came here, and we made it what it was. But I think one of the reasons why I became so active, especially in South Florida, is back to the facts that we were talking about, that HIV and AIDS, of all newly infected people going out there today and getting infected with HIV and having unsafe sex, of all newly infected people in the entire United States, Miami-Dade is number 1.
Oh,
Broward County's number 2.
That's amazing.
Palm Beach County's number 6 in the United States for over the past 10 years. This is the epicenter, South Florida, of HIV, and it isn't talked about at all.
Right, right. Have you heard anything?
No.
Nothing.
When you first told us that we were in the top 2 spots, like Florida, I would
Three.
Well,
Three.
3.
Yeah.
One, yeah,
Really?
1, 2, and 6.
1, 2, and 6. But
It amazes me. And then there's so many stigma, and that there's people that's infected with HIV and is not aware of it.
Yeah,
and they're infecting other people.
And it's not even the LGBTQ community.
No, it's
really isn't.
It's just random people.
It is anyone and everyone. It's
someone
the
you
young
know.
people.
It could be someone I know. I mean, we could know someone with HIV and they don't even know it.
Christina.
Chances are, yeah.
No,
Christina,
chances are you
Latina.
do, though.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is, so a number of people always ask me right at that point is like, so why is it so prevalent here? Well, it's not just because of the LGBT community. That's a small piece of it.
Right.
It's many different aspects. One, the population. It's a very dense population here. A lot of transient behavior. People coming in and out, snowbirds,
Right,
tourists,
true.
the spring breakers, you know, all of that, the cruise ships. You have Haitian and Jamaican communities highly affected because they were part of the initial virus in the early days. So
Right, yes.
the drug community, you don't just get HIV, surprise, surprise, through sex.
No,
a lot of HIV is through dirty needles.
dirty needles, yeah.
And if not even through dirty needles, you're high, you're drunk, you know, you go out there and say it's Saturday night. Oh, you don't plan on having unsafe sex, but you make the wrong choices because you're a little high, you're a little buzzed, you're a little drunk. So all of those drugs coming out of South Florida through Miami that enters the United States, there's a huge, huge drug problem, especially in South Florida.
Right.
So when we speak in the schools, that's where I really want to grab these kids and shake them. because
they don't
it's-
realize. Yeah.
Well, it's that. I mean, kids party. They have they have a drink or two, but they don't understand the repercussions of their actions. In high schools, they're talked about texting and driving and drinking and driving, but you can still make that car accident in the bedroom.
Right.
Drinking and driving and getting high, you can go in the bedroom and make those wrong choices and get an STI or HIV.
The other thing is, they used to, when it was World AIDS Day, or when it was National HIV Testing Day, the TV stations nationally would mention it. They would promote it. They would talk about. Not even now. What was it? The most recent one was it World AIDS Day, December 1st. I checked all 3 stations, and I couldn't find anybody who even mentioned it. And that's a sad commentary about how you are allowing people to go out there without the right information, infecting themselves and getting others infected, and you're not in the media responsible for covering some of this. That's a crime.
Yeah, and even in the actual AIDS vigil itself, we used to have thousands and thousands, and now we just don't have those numbers. Is it because they're all passed away? A little bit. But no, people just don't talk about it. They just don't care. They're sitting home watching Netflix, and they're having a good time, and they don't care. So I see the numbers in AIDS vigils dropping year by year by year.
These results are just a couple of years ago. I'm sure it hasn't really changed much. But in 2016, just in Miami-Dade, it was approximately 26,000 people living with HIV, 73.6% male, 26% female. And then you have then they split out to Black, Hispanic, Latina, and white.
It's worse.
Black is 42.5%, 45 Hispanic and white.
That's the chart that I showed the viewers last week.
People don't want to hear some of these things. They think you're being politically incorrect.
Because a black male has several stigmas. So, as a gay male,
please talk. Shed light on that.
As a gay male white, there is sexual activity. So the prevalence of getting it is that. But also, too, amongst whites, there's low income, middle income, high income. So now, then you add in a minority. So a young black man who may not have better education, so they don't get the facts and they don't get the knowledge or support. Poverty situation. They're not getting the right food, nutrition, knowledge, education. And then also, too, in a community such as that where there might be poverty or crime, the chances of getting HIV or an STI are higher just because of those other factors.
Right.
So a good example is in the gay community, say Wilton Manors, we know HIV, and you can go to a free HIV test. Within a 1 mile radius, there's probably 7 or 8 free testing things any afternoon, 7 days a week. 1 mile away on Sistrunk Boulevard, there's no testing. And that's where there's a high rate of HIV. It's the epicenter of the epicenter. But for some people, they know to say, okay, well, the gays know about this. So some people in the black community do come down to the gay community. They'll go out of the closet. They'll go to the thrift store. They'll go get that free HIV test. And then they go back, because if they go to that doctor in their neighborhood, they are afraid of the stigma and being seen in that particular doctor's office. But it's quick and easy to just go into the thrift store and they say, where were you today? Oh, I was at the thrift store. They're not the real reason he was there to go get an HIV test. Now, the bad news is if he does go get that test and he becomes HIV positive, well, at least he knows he's HIV positive, but unfortunately now, once he goes back to his home and his community and his support system, he may not get that support. So he's not getting the help, he's not getting the education, he may not stay on his medication to keep him happy and healthy.
Because he fears of other people finding out, and that.
And they still think it's a death sentence, unfortunately, and it's not.
Yeah, so either way.
And how people handle their diagnosis. That's one of the things, to take somebody with you, have a friend go with you to get your test. Because when you find out, you're going to be shocked.
It's not easy.
And it's not. It's one of the most horrible things. And it's a date you'll never forget if you're diagnosed that way. So a support system is really important. And most of the time, if the younger or older, they don't have a support system to talk about this. And that's just, that's sad. Because you don't want to have a diagnosis by yourself and then go home and think about that. And the other thing is that the opium, they always talk about the opioid crisis, the opioid epidemic. Well, you know what? When you're high, the last thing you're thinking about is putting a condom on.
Right.
Not forever hard. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, then there's condoms too, and I sent you that information about that. Did I give you that slide information about that lady?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So before this, safer sex practices have always been known as the condom, right?
Correct.
Use a condom. Well, gay or straight, guys don't like using condoms. In the story.
Right.
But there was a study by this doctor, and I can't think of her name right now, but it was with the CDC, and she showed a study where a group of people that she surveyed, they used condoms every single time of every single sexual activity. Even if they used that condom at every single sexual activity, they were only 70% protected.
Right.
And so you would think if I use a condom every single time I have sex, I'm 100% protected because I always use condoms.
Right.
No, there's so many different factors. First of all, a condom is a man-made product. It can break, it can slip.
Right.
It can break during the act. They think that, let me get the more expensive lambskin condoms. They're thinner. Well, they're thinner because they have perforated holes in them. So yes, they don't feel as uncomfortable as the latex ones, but because of those perforated holes, HIV virus will go through them like water through a sieve. And people don't know that either.
Wow.
So condoms are not a cure-all. We call it the safety belts. So in your car, you should have several different safety features. You have seat belts, airbags. You're not going to buy a car without several different safety features.
Right.
Same thing in sexual activity. We call it the sexual toolbox. You have to have several different safety features. Condoms, conversation, talk about someone's HIV status, and then now the new conversation, which is PrEP.
Yeah.
Wow. Would we be able to, I guess, maybe put on a website or something, like locations of where someone can go anonymously?
Absolutely, yeah.
That would be such a huge, I think that would be important for people to.
Any website or phone
numbers.
Well, the one place I know here in West Palm Beach, I know, is the Compass Gay and Lesbian Community Center. They do phenomenal HIV testing. And once again, it's not just about the testing, it's about the case management.
Sure.
Because if you go there, get a test, and that's fine. So if you get a test and you're negative, okay, cool. Here's some condoms, here's some safer sex information. Be careful. But if you become HIV positive, then they will also link you to care, hook you up with doctors, tell you where to go.
They're excellent.
And help you out with things. So in West Palm Beach, I know Compass is a great place.
In Lakewood.
But in Broward County, where I am, there's tons of places. Once, of course, is the Department of Health on State Road 84 and in Pompano Beach. There is Out of the Closet thrift store, free HIV testing, and they have 2 locations there. And you just go and shop and buy some great goodies and get a quickie test and go back. The Pride Center,
the Pride Center,
the Latina Salud. And also, too, if you go to some of these places, don't just ask for an HIV test. Some of these locations will do STI and HIV as well.
Right. Okay. Well, we're here with Ed Sparron, AIDS activist. It's a lot of great information
here.
Great information.
Don't worry. We'll have all those information, locations, phone numbers, be posted on our website.
And by the way, when you go to hempboca.com to learn not only about our products or information, there is a link that goes to all of our previous recording shows. So we'll have this uploaded within a couple days, usually average about 24, 48 hours. So you can always reference back to our shows. But this is great information to pass on if you have HIV or AIDS, or if you know somebody who does. This could help that person.
Save someone's life.
But if you want to follow Hemp Boca, we are on just under 30 different platforms. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, iHeart, TuneIn, SoFlo Mixers, Tumblr, Radio Public, Spotify, Breaker, Stitcher. There's a whole list. All on our website, hempboca.com. As that grows, you know what that means? The audience is growing.
Yes.
So it's good for us. And if you want to send an email, any thoughts that you have, you can send it to awareness@hempboca.com.
If you have any questions, if you want to email us or call us, leave a voicemail.
The website, your website's beautiful, and you do have all the testimonies, and you do have the information about previous shows, because I watched it today. It's beautifully done.
Yeah, and I put a discount code on there to kind of just coincide with what's going on in January, which is really winter, right? It's a winter month. So if you type in the code WINTER, you get a discount on all our products in the stores. It started today. It'll go through the end of January. So we hope you try our products out. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Gene and myself through awareness@hempboca.com.
Or leave voicemail at 561-295-4800.
Correct. And if it's a nice message, we'll play it, right?
Yeah.
You're the boss.
If we choose your message, depending on what you leave on there.
Yeah.
But
it's great.
We're coming
stuff.
towards the end of the show, and we're here with Ed Sparron and Susan Lee Mintz.
Amen.
Amen. How's the oil doing?
Oh, it's lovely. I have that aftertaste in my mouth that's lingering.
We're out
Nutty.
we're out and about all the time. Meeting with potential clients and talking to customers and stuff, and our product is very earthy tasting. And when a lot of the products out there have flavor, it's a way to just market and stuff. Because if something, if you like strawberry and you find a CBD product that tastes like strawberry, you're gonna want to go back and buy it because of the flavor taste. But we don't. We have it's very earthy and
raw. Real.
You like it.
Yes.
Sweet.
Lingering.
Yeah, so when we have we have potential clients that they'll taste it and they'll like, some don't care for it, but we tell them, it's like, listen, this is an immediate signal that how pure and organic and natural our product is, because we have stevia, which is great for diabetes, blood pressure, blood sugar levels, and then MCT fractionated coconut oil. There's a whole list of benefits there.
Well, can we have Ed back another time to talk about PrEP?
Absolutely. This is
of course
a part two.
There's so much more to discuss.
True.
So much more. And 1 hour just gone by just like that.
We should, because I have here a brochure that he gave us a while back on PrEP, and we can make that just a whole 1 hour episode, because there's a lot of information there about.
Because you're doing it, you're exposing the public to what really is, and they're bringing awareness.
30 seconds real quick on what it is.
Of course, let's do it, and we'll schedule.
So when you go and get an HIV test, you get your test, they take the little finger prick. Okay, your negative test, you do not have HIV. So usually in the old days we'd say, okay, you don't have HIV, here's a condom, have a nice day. Nowadays we don't do that. We talk about your other safer sex practices, what are you doing and how can we improve upon that? And besides the condom, there are many other different safer sex practices. One of them is PrEP. PrEP is a pill. The pill is known as Truvada, and PrEP is the method, pre-exposure prophylactics. And people are shocked when I tell them you can take a pill to prevent from getting pregnant. Nowadays, you can take this one blue pill, Truvada. You take it every day. It will prevent you from getting HIV. If you're sexually active and you don't like using condoms, you can take this pill once a day, every day. If the virus enters your system, you will not get HIV.
So that dies out, the virus dies out?
Yeah. We'll go into more detail later, but the medicine kind of protects those T cells we were talking about earlier and doesn't allow the virus to attach to the T cell. If it can't attach, it can't feed off of it, and it dies off.
What about the expense, though, of that drug?
Expenses where we come in, you come see people like me. We connect you to doctors, and we connect you to programs within the drug company. And so if you're low income,
covered by insurance or recognized in any insurance plans?
It's an expensive drug, like most medications. So what we do is, if you have insurance, we process you. We get covered by insurance. What's not covered by insurance gets covered by the drug company's copay card. Covers like $7,200 on their copay card. But if you're unemployed or very poor and don't have any insurance whatsoever, there are other programs such as Advancing Access that can be accessed to actually get the medications covered. So if you're making good money.
Whatever, what's a pill go for?
A 30-day supply is $1,200 to $1,800 a month.
Wow. You know what? Stop having sex, people.
That's your safest sex.
That is the safest sex.
Of all people sitting here, Gene would be the one to say that.
No. I mean, if you're rich and living on Las Olas, you can afford it and go have fun and do your thing.
Exactly.
But most people don't make a lot of money and can't.
Right.
Well,
that's like a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Would that be a disclaimer, though, that that's not 100% true, though, that it's going to prevent it, or does it?
Well, nothing is 100%.
No.
Right.
It is between 90 and 99% effective.
That's pretty good.
Now, if you put the condom on and it breaks, then your chances are less. But I'm going to give you the pill. You're going to take it. If you take it, it works. If you don't take it, then it doesn't work.
And every day you have to take it specifically?
Yeah, you have to. It takes a couple days to build up in your system. You have to have it build up in your system. You can't just take it and say, "Hey, let's go out and party tonight." No, it doesn't work that way.
Are you taking it? Are you taking it?
No, because I've already got the virus. I'm HIV positive, so I don't need it. So, too late for me. But for all you people out there being sexually active, and who isn't being sexually active except for two nuns in Sunrise? So, you know,
Mrs. Boner from Boca isn't, that's for sure. Marijuana, martinis, and men.
Yes,
Not in my playbook.
Central Village, they're stupid. They're retired,
I can
they're
smell
widowed.
it when I walk
they're tired
by.
of playing bingo and shuffleboard. They're screwed around.
Saturday night in my clubhouse, these women are so dressed up and partying so hard, and they bring their own bottles, and I know because I know. I mean, I've lived there 14 years.
I see it.
It's high school for 60 and 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds.
You see some of these restaurants that have bars, and you see elderly, single ladies sitting at bars dressed up, having drinks.
Don't they call that
cougar?
Cougar night.
I've actually got.
No?
Cougar is like when you're like 40s, 50s, and you're going for like 20-year-olds.
It hurts just
I've actually
thinking
gotten
about it.
senior citizens. 74. I had an 84-year-old man come to me, and I put him on PrEP. He's 84. He's taking another pill, Viagra, so the plumbing works. As long as the plumbing works, you know,
It's good to go.
he's susceptible. He's susceptible. So.
No
Thank you
limits.
again.
No limits.
No limits.
No
No
boundaries,
boundaries.
that's for sure.
And it's been a great show. Thank you, Ed Sparron, HIV activist.
And Miss Susan Lee Mintz, as always, for being here. What you got over there?
Previously known
We got a
as
couple
Mrs.
minutes.
Boner from Boca.
What?
Your books.
Oh.
Just
Come on now, we have 2
briefly,
minutes.
2 minutes.
You may go to susanmintz.com and see all the interviews on the homepage and media pages. You can go
And
to the
some of the
books
books.
icon, and you can check out my books that are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
And held their hands
And
with
then-
hospice heart.
Oh, the picture. Yeah.
And then the old lady been around since
And
19... what
Commitment
was
to
it?
Love.
Look at that picture.
1991. Safe sex
That's a
was
redhead
born.
right there.
Oh, it's so sad to see
The
it
redhead.
now. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Well, it's Hemp Boca time every Tuesday nights from 7 to 8
Thank
p.m.
you.
Broadcasting live out of Boca Raton. Gina, Chris,
I'm sorry.
Susan.
And Ed Sparron.
And
Do you
Ed
have
too
a
coming.
website that they can go to?
I don't
for
have a
yourself?
website, but
No?
maybe late this summer we'll talk about my book. It's coming out this summer.
All right.
Congratulations.
We'll have to talk about that.
We'll get you
on
back
next-
on the show.
When it comes out, yeah, we'll do a whole thing. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining
Yes.
us.
I'm
Have a
excited.
wonderful
Can I see that
evening.
for a second? Oh, can we cut cake on the...
And
I
come
want
back.
to use
Hold
the
on a
cake.
minute, my cousin. Come back
Always
next
next
week. My
Easy
cousin
Street, never
Joe's
on
going
it.
to be here. We're going to tell you how we met after so many years. You wouldn't believe this story. Good night.
Sneak peek. Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you for listening to the Hemp Boca Show. Tune in every week where we bring awareness and educate the community about hemp, CBD, cannabidiol, and health and wellness. For questions, comments, information, and products, visit hempboca.com. We'll see you next week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those